We're still working on the theme song.
Yeah, I know. We need a theme. We need some kind
Gary's
of
here this week.
I know, Gary's here this week.
Maybe we can come up with one.
Oh my goodness! Wait, you just
Gary's a jingle writer.
Yeah,
just in
Gary's
case you know.
the guy that we found out yesterday. All these jingles you hear on radio or see on TV in Des Moines, this guy has created 98 of them.
I love
his
Gary.
count. That's very impressive. And he can create jingles. He's probably watching now. So, Gary, we need a jingle for Round the Car Guy. We're thinking SpongeBob SquarePants theme.
I was thinking Bob the Builder.
Or Bob the
Round the car guy.
That-
Can he fix it? You know?
Yes, he
I like
can.
that.
Okay,
You
yeah.
have kids,
Who needs
don't you?
Gary?
We have
Gary, we're not
Jason.
going to pay you for that.
Give me a C, a bouncy C.
All right, but we're going to talk about something that was just brought up Saturday. I ran into somebody over at the convenience store and filling up our rig, and somebody goes, "Can you believe this?" Goes, "Why did they do this? Now what am I supposed to put in my car?" Talking about the numbers changing on the gas pumps.
Yeah, I'm a little scared being surrounded by guys this morning and we're talking gas.
Gas.
But
I took care of that in the elevator on the way out.
Oh, thanks, Ron. I'm glad you went there.
Heads up to everybody else working in the building.
now we're talking about
It makes the
numbers.
elevator go up faster. Actually.
Yeah,
It's lighter.
We're talking about the numbers that are on the gas pumps because it used to say 89 or 89.5 on a whole bunch of them.
Exactly.
And those numbers have seemed to have disappeared.
As of Wednesday last week.
Is that when it was?
Yep, and it's not only the numbers that disappeared, the gasoline that comes out of the pump has changed.
Okay. Why is that the case?
This is in response to, in 2005, there was federal action passed through the Energy Committee, and it required that in 2013, a certain percentage of all fuel sold be a renewable fuel. So for gasoline, that means ethanol. So in a nutshell, in 2005, they passed legislation that said in 2013, X percent of gasoline sold is going to have ethanol in it.
Okay.
And so in response to that, they had to figure out how to boost the sales of ethanol, essentially. And so what they've done is the way gasoline works is pipeline companies ship it all over the United States.
Okay.
And in the past, what they did was they would ship 87 octane fuel, which you see at the pump. And then at the terminal, like here in Des Moines where the pipeline comes in.
Down on the south side?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And there's one out in Clive that BP uses.
Okay.
They would then blend in 10% ethanol, and it created 89 octane fuel. And then
enough.
the other fuel that they would ship in was the 91 octane fuel for the Corvettes and BMWs and the more performance type vehicles. So the pipeline would only ship two kinds of fuel. They'd ship 87 and 91, and they were considered clear fuel. They had no alcohol in it. And then we got the 89 with the 10% ethanol. What they did to boost the amount of ethanol used in fuel was they started shipping, as of Wednesday of last week, 84 octane
No
fuel.
way.
Yes. So Magellan is the biggest pipeline that comes through the Midwest. Magellan started shipping 84 octane fuel and 91.
Okay. So you dropped the 87.
Correct.
Okay.
84 octane fuel is not good enough to be burnt in any vehicle. It's considered substandard fuel. Matter of fact, it's illegal to sell 84 octane fuel in the state of Iowa. So what they are doing to get the 84 up to the 87 is they're adding 10% ethanol.
Okay.
All right. Now, if I'm doing the math, that doesn't calculate out. That falls shy by 1 octane point.
Well, the percent doesn't always equal octane.
Okay.
87 and 10%, excuse me, got you up to 89. 84 and 10% supposedly gets you up to 87.
Okay.
I haven't tested it, but
Okay.
that's what they're telling us.
So I'm thinking with the less octane fuel that's being shipped, we can really expect a dramatic decrease in the price of the fuel. Wouldn't that make total sense?
They can get more gallons of gasoline, 84 octane gasoline, out of a barrel of oil.
Oh, so obviously the price is going to come way down.
Yeah, but we haven't seen that happen, or at least not yet. I mean, maybe they lost the numbers to the sign or something and can't change it.
Yeah.
So now when we pull up to the pump, stations, older stations have 2 tanks, and of course the newer ones have 3 or more tanks. But so now what we're seeing when we pull up to the pump is some stations still have 87 non-ethanol fuel and 87 ethanol, which has replaced the 89.
Okay.
The way they get the 87 non-ethanol fuel is they take the substandard 84 that's being shipped and they mix 91 with it.
They blend it.
They blend it. But what that's done now is they're utilizing more expensive 91 to get that up there. So what we're seeing is the 87 non-ethanol fuel has jumped 20, 30, in some parts of the state 40 cents a gallon.
Wow.
To compensate for the more expensive fuel they're having to boost it. So in a 2-tank station, you're going to see the 87 non-ethanol fuel at a much higher price, and then you're going to see the 87 ethanol, which is about the same price as the 89 ethanol was. And then of course in a 3-tank station you'll have the 91. My prediction is there's also a fuel out there called E15.
Right.
Okay.
Which is 15% ethanol. So it's going to be 84 substandard fuel plus 15% ethanol, which will take it up to the 89 that we used to know.
Okay.
And I think eventually, especially on a 3-tank station, you'll see 87 ethanol, 89 E15, and 91, because people aren't going to buy a lot of the 87 non-ethanol at the higher price.
Okay. Now, will the E15, of course, people that work with motors a lot, they know that the ethanol in your fuel, if used the proper way, is okay to use in your vehicles. Is the E15 safe to use in the vehicles that can use regular ethanol, the 10%?
2001 and newer.
Okay, so it has the electronics to compensate for it.
And the components and the fuel injectors and the pump and stuff like that. So if you have if we start seeing E15, and I think we will, and you've got a 2000 and older, you don't want to put E15 in it.
Okay.
What will it do if you do?
It'll over time the higher amounts of alcohol will damage components. Like if you look at a fuel pump that's in a vehicle, there's a lot of nylon and plastic pieces and stuff in there. There's different types of rubber seals. They weren't designed to have that much alcohol floating around them, and it will deteriorate those and cause components. Now, if you put 1 tank in, you're not going to see an issue. But if you use it religiously on a repeat basis, it can.
It's just because it isn't because it's a bad product. It's mainly because the gaskets and things were not designed to handle it. So there was no need to have that in there.
Yep. But in 2001, they saw that this was on the horizon, and the manufacturers cooperated to start building components that eventually would be more compatible. The other thing, and I had a gentleman pose this to me Friday of last week. He had stopped in. And he had a vehicle that the manufacturer recommended 91 octane fuel. And he had been using 89 octane fuel without any detrimental effect, or at least in his mind. And so he had contacted a salesperson where he bought the car, because the salesman had told him, oh, you can put 89 in, it'll be okay. And he said, well, what should I do now? And the salesman's like, he goes, I'd put 87 in, it's cheaper. And it's not cheaper in the long run, because what happens is we all, or well, some of us, Jackie might not.
Well, I was going to say, can I ask a quick question?
You can ask a quick question.
Okay, let's say none of that makes any sense, and you drive up to the gas pump and you just get the cheapest gas that's available.
Yes.
Is that now going to make sense, or do I need to pay more attention and maybe pay a little bit more because I'm not getting that high quality of gas?
That puts it in a nutshell. The cheapest gas that's going to be at the pump is going to be 87 octane ethanol blend, and for the majority of the cars out there, it'll be just fine. Most cars were designed to run on 87 octane.
So kind of continue with the procedures that I've been doing.
Yep, buy the cheapest gas.
Okay.
Yep, that's a great way. Now, if you have a car that was designed for 91 octane fuel, and if you do, you probably know it. You know, the Mercedes, some of the Acura, some of the Volkswagen, Audis, BMWs, you know, with a higher performance engine or a turbocharged engine, to use an 87 in there as opposed to a 91. You know, engines used to ping.
Yes, I remember that.
Exactly, if they didn't have enough octane. Well, now they have sensors. Basically, they have microphones built into the engine that listens for that ping. And if the computer hears the ping, it retards the timing so it doesn't damage the engine. Well, when you retard the timing on an engine, it has less power. So it requires 91. People put 87 in there, or even when they were putting 89 in there to save money on fuel. Well, what happens is the computer adjusts the engine for a low-quality fuel that it wasn't designed to run on, so then it's down on power, so you put your foot into the accelerator more to get it going, and you use more gas.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense.
Your fuel mileage is going to suffer if you put the wrong gas in.
So with your Chevy Chevette, I think just put whatever is cheapest in it, okay?
That's what I typically do.
Even putting 87 ethanol fuel in now, you're not going to get as good a mileage.
You know, absolutely, and you can probably relate to this in the in the race vehicles and stuff. I mean, when alcohol has lower
burns quicker.
Exactly, it burns quicker and has lower BTUs, so it takes more ethanol to power, which is why we always hear about, you know, E85, my flex fuel vehicle. I put it in, I get worse mileage. You're absolutely correct, Jason. It'll be minimal because there's only 10% in there, but it's not going to yield the mileage that you know a clear gasoline would.
So the positive thing here is that it's a benefit to agriculture, that we're using more
Corn.
Correct.
But people on the other side would say yes, but we subsidize the heck out of it. So
well, and we do in Iowa. Yeah. And see, when you get outside of Iowa, right now, the 89 octane that went away, that was 83% of the sales of gasoline in Iowa. Most people used that, and nationally now, 93% of all gasoline sold is going to have ethanol in it. And you get outside of Iowa and you pull up to a pump and you don't see an ethanol blended fuel. You know, you got California, New Mexico, eastern states and stuff. But what they're doing, they're getting the same 84 substandard gasoline, and they've got to boost it up to 87. And the way the law reads, they can put up to, as long as it's less than 10% ethanol in the fuel, it doesn't have to be labeled and disclosed. So they can take 84 octane fuel and they can put 8% ethanol in it and then throw a little bit of 91 in on top of it to get it up, to blend it up to that 87 octane fuel, and it will show up at the pump as, it won't be labeled as an ethanol fuel, but it still has ethanol. That's how we're going to hit the 93% of the gas sold will have ethanol in it.
And that's why we should all convert to natural gas.
There you go.
There we go.
He is the gas man.
Go back and see that show.
It's the gas man. Maybe that should be your new theme song.
Ron the Car Guy. 2 minutes before 7 o'clock. We'll be right back. You're watching Great Day.
That was great.